Welcome to the Business Spotlight. Today we are speaking with Hayden Bloomfield, founder of Pink Panda Productions. Hayden has a very fresh approach to visual storytelling, and I'm very thrilled to have him share his insights with us today. So let's dive right in. Hayden, tell us a bit more about what you do.
Hi, Leader. Bit more about what I do. I mean, like day to day, most of my day is spent obsessing over systems and processes and obsessing over the next 100 years. Most of my day to day. And then in terms of like the actual work and like what I do with clients is all marketing. It's kind of like marketing meets business strategy, understanding what someone wants their business to look like in the future, and then just going, right, well, who are the people you need to achieve that? The clients, the team, the partners you're going to work with. And then our, like at Pink Panda, it's all based around, well, we're going to craft the marketing strategy and then create all the content and manage it all so that those people are drawn to you to want to work with you, to be part of your company, to work with your company, to be clients of your company.
Oh, excellent. And can you tell me a bit about how it started, what the journey's been like up to this point? Some highs, some lows. Yeah, how's it been?
Yeah, well, in 1996, I was born. No, the it all started because my first company was a garden maintenance company, so I still have that, and it's like a micro business that mostly runs itself. And I fell into that just from struggling to find a job anyway, and then started this business and had to just kind of learn how to run a business and build a business, mostly because I couldn't get a job. It was easier to start a business for me for some reason. I didn't really know what a business was, but just somehow started looking after people's gardens. Grew that. There was about a team, within a few years, there was about a team of 10 of us. And my biggest problem was I came across really ruthless and robotic and made a lot of mistakes managing. Now, when I look back, it's so obvious. And I should have taken on an operations manager and basically had someone between me and the team so that they could translate Hayden into human and human back to Hayden.
Mhm.
And, and so, not identifying that mistake and improving on it, I found that I would just have this revolving door with staff. And one thing that worked really well in the company was the marketing. So I knew exactly how to draw people in. I could get a dream team wanting to work with me. I had some incredible people that worked for me that weren't rewarded enough for what they did. And then I had a whole list of amazing clients and got to a point where I could just arrive in my dream client's garden and they would kind of be like, when can you start? And a lot of that all came from I made so much content. I was just always making content, videos, writing articles, and then looking at how can that be implemented in the sales process and just thought it kind of like a mathematical equation of the sense of in order for like the outcome I want is person paying us to do their garden. And between them discovering us and paying us, there's all of these steps. So I just need to make it the minimal steps possible and automate as much of it as possible. So what is every question they've got? I need to answer it. What is every doubt they could have? I need to reassure them of that. How do I structure a service around what they want? How do I guarantee like put guarantees in place that's going to reassure them that we are going to provide a service that they want and they desire. So our service was all like the way it worked was all around what's something you want for your garden. Well, we're going to put a plan together and then it's a fixed monthly fee. We just look after your garden so you get that result. So it made it hard to compare us to other gardeners because they'd be like, oh, well, that's their hourly rate. That's their hourly rate. That's a day rate. Oh, these guys just say, what's the dream of your garden? And it's this much a month. Cool. All right. Well, that makes sense. And so with that, I was making all this content. It was just taking so long and so time consuming and just resource heavy. And I thought, I wish a company existed that could just take my vision of what I want in the future, what I want this company to look like, and then just make all the content for me to do it. Because I enjoyed making the content. I enjoyed using the content and manage it on socials and all that kind of thing. And so in the end, I was like, I really love that idea. So I'm going to start that company. And then I've spent the last couple of years just obsessing over marketing and learning more and more and more. And that's where I got to today. And in terms of trials and tribulations, there's all kinds of mistakes I've made. I've lost tens and tens and tens of thousands of pounds. I've employed over 30 people and made a lot of mistakes doing that. I've been to court a couple times, won every time. And there's all kinds of stories, all kinds of stories.
It sounds like an amazing journey, actually. And I think many business owners can relate, with those ups and downs. So it's
Mm.
been the biggest learning, would you say, from having, been to court and, lost money and team management. Yeah, what's been some of your biggest takeaways and learning from that?
Okay, biggest takeaways in going to court was this is an unpopular opinion that I speak about semi-regularly is I actually recommend if you're a business owner, if you end up with an opportunity to go to court in your first year of business, jump on it. When I was going through that, it was over less than 200 quid. And a lot of people around me were like, just pay them off, just give them money enough that they will just shut up and go away. And in the end, I went to court over less than 200 quid. Best thing ever because one, nothing reinforces the point of getting before and after photos or tracking what you do more than going in court and having to prove what you've done. So, big thing there. Like, nothing settles that lesson more than being in court, going, here's the photos of before we started, and here's the photos of after. There you go. You can see what we've done. And also, like, getting everything signed off, like written quotes or whatever you're going to do, just like a very clear plan so that when you take on clients, they know what you're doing. And also just a confidence thing. Like it's something that since then, so I've been to court again over like a few £1,000s and had other like kind of difficult situations where the like discussion of court comes up. And it just gives you a lot of confidence because I know the process now. So if someone wants to be difficult, or if it becomes difficult for any reason, I can be like, yeah, take me to court. I've been multiple times. I've won every time. I'm probably going to win if you take me to court because I know the process quite well and I know exactly what we're going to do. And like even when people you get things with like kind of like bullying threats where they mention court and it's catches people off guard and you're like, yeah, take me to court. Step one, mitigation. They're going to want us to discuss anymore. And if clients become difficult and say, I'm not going to talk this to you, I'm not going to talk this over with you anymore, we'll just take it to court. I'm like, cool. Well, step one is mitigation. So they're going to get us talking. And a lot of things like that can just help. Like you come across arrogant, but you can resolve the situation, just get to the solution quicker. So that's court. That was some lessons there. What else did you say? Team management.
Yeah.
Big one there is when I was building my garden company, two big things. One is I was happy to suffer every day. And like I didn't pay myself a salary until years into it. I didn't have things and stuff and lived like without spending money, essentially. I just didn't buy stuff. So in that to me was normal. So I didn't really empathize and realize that other people wanted money to do things. So I offered low salaries and such and didn't have a really good structure to reward people. So that's one big thing I've learned is like, no, not everyone's like insane and stupid like me to live like that. And two was focusing much more on what people want out of their career. So like hiring for Pink Panda now, a lot of the process is what do you want from your career? What does career success look like to you? What does personal success look like to you? What support do you need from a company to get there? And that's made it a lot easier to look at longevity of taking someone on and being like, are they going to work for me for a month, for a year, for 10 years? And having those conversations up front makes it a lot easier. And it creates a better relationship. And there was a third thing that's just gone from my head. What was the other thing? You said team management, court, and something else.
Yeah, you said that you lost thousands.
Oh
So
yeah, cool.
yeah, so what did you learn from that?
I'm hoping I've learned the lessons. I'm very impatient and determined to do what I want and I mean, like losing a lot of money. The most money I lost uh, is what resulted as a consequence, kind of led to Pink Panda existing. So I'm grateful that I lost it. And when I was going through it, it was the most financially stressful time of my life. And because I lost like 60 grand and liquid cash just wiped out. And that felt horrible at the time. But I remember going through it and being like, I'm going to be in a similar situation one day where I'm sorry, I'm going to be talking to someone that's in some kind of similar tumultuous time and feeling really shit about life. And the fact that I've had that is going to be so valuable to be like I've been through what you're talking about and it feels terrible right now. And viscerally, it's just churning your stomach. And you can get through it and there's a whole load of lessons to take from it. And that's what I kind of thought was like going through it is freaking glad I've got this because I'm going to learn a load from it and it's going to make one great post on LinkedIn one day. And it did. So it also taught me to be more patient and evaluate things. And I've kind of looked at how do I, so like one thing in Pink Panda, I'm taking on an investor at the moment. And one of the big things was about taking on an investor was one, having someone with wisdom and knowledge to give their opinion on things and critique me and challenge me. Two was putting someone else in the line of decision making when it comes to spending or investing money. So then if I'm going to do something with money that's substantial, is I can't even do it anymore without the approval of others. So that was a big thing that I took from losing loads of money, was put blocks in between me and spending money. And then obviously free, you get the money from the investor and it helps grow the company. But yeah, the main things there was it's taught me don't leave money decisions down to me, because I am very impulsive and will make decisions very fast, which is very handy running a business, but it then becomes uh, dangerous at times. But I mean, I've always been very frugal, and I was like with my garden company, the financials of it were always really strong. We was always really we had like record profit, or still do have record profits for the industry, and I always had a huge runway, and then went and lost a load of it, but yeah, it taught me to be more patient with money and be more careful with it and put other people in place, as I said, to help me make decisions before spending on my investing money.
Mm, excellent. Thanks you for sharing those learnings. Um, so, what advice would you give someone that starting out in business? So that's the first one, and secondly, in being in business, from all these learnings, what advice would you give business owners out there?
Okay, I'll start with someone that's starting a business.
Hmm.
If, although it's a very different factor if they're starting a first business or starting another business. If someone's starting a first business, stop. Have you worked for business owners before? Like, if you haven't, like, if I look back and was like, what would make my life easier? A lot of what made life easier for me was I worked for a one-man band and learned a lot of the details of business before I started a business. Admittedly, I learned a lot of how to do things wrong. So biggest thing I'd say is if you want to start a business is go work in a startup that's got like a handful of people that can grow to tens of people and see that. And that will do two things. Of one, will teach you like every component, operations, finance, marketing, sales, etc. But also you'll build a whole network of people that you know, so that when you start something, you've got people to work with, whether that's like someone to help out with like how you set up all the legalities of it, how you sort out the HR and how you do the sales, and like you've got people around you that you can rely on. Advice to people if they're starting another business is something I would never, like every company I'm going to build from here on. I've got a whole list of companies I want to build, and I won't do anything without a waiting list. So I won't start a business. I will go, I've got the idea for my next company. And because this is something Pink Panda is going to do in the future, is a pre-launch service where if someone's like, I'm going to give an example, a gardener's got a business and they want to go start a tree surgery firm, and it'd probably be an arm of their business. Rather than just starting it and going and buying tens of thousands of pounds worth of equipment, our service will basically go out market research. So then it will work with their clients or other clients, and it's just go and test the market to see if we provided this service, are you interested in it? And so if someone's already had a business before and they're starting another one, it's just do the market research. And that's what I want to build, another garden company and prove to myself that I can actually build it and leave it and get it running itself. So the way I'm going to do that is just establish where it's going to be based, go find a yard that would be available, go find someone to head up operations, and then build a waiting list of people that would like to be part of the team, build a waiting list of clients that are interested in the service. So that is something that less than a couple of grand I can go and test and know that it's there. And it means that day one, when I start the business, I've got a team of 12 people ready to start. They just need a start date to hand their notice in. And I've got a list of clients ready to start. So from day one, it's like, oh, look, we're a business that's going to turn over 250,000 this year. And that's my advice to business owners that are starting another company. And then what was the last thing you said? You said people
Yeah,
starting.
so you've been in business now 10 years, did you say? And yeah, so what advice would you give to seasoned entrepreneurs?
Uh, So I've been in business 21, 27 years. What advice would I
Mhm.
give to seasoned entrepreneurs that have had and built multiple companies? My advice would be please say hello to me and go for a coffee with me so I can ask you questions and you
Yeah.
can give me advice instead.
Yeah. So, do you often network with other business owners? Is that something that you enjoy doing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've got another company that's a business network as well.
All right. Okay. So, seasoned entrepreneur for sure. Yeah. So how's that going? And
Yeah, really good. It's a lot of fun. And like networking's been a huge thing so like where I talked about a garden company and within a few years it was like a team of 10 of us. The whole reason was because the month I started my business, I went to advertise in a magazine. And the guy that ran the magazine was in BNI, as we're both part of, and told me about it. And I was like, no idea what this is. And then just said, like, oh, yeah, it's basically a bunch of business people get together every week and we pass referrals and whatnot. I was like, oh my God, that exists. Wow. Like, yeah, take me along. And I go along. For me to join is all the money I had. Like, I didn't even have a lawnmower at this point. I just had a few flyers and a t-shirt and was like, okay, so all the money I have is what it costs to join this network. So it's make or break. And I haven't got a lawnmower yet. And I was like, yeah, cool. So I took all my money and joined. And one of the biggest things was they talked about one-to-ones. And I was like, what's a one-to-one? So they were like, oh, yeah. So like us in the room were encouraged to go off and like just meet up with each other and spend like an hour or whatever, just talking about our businesses and seeing how we can help each other out. What's your ideal client? What challenges have you got? And just kind of be there as like a sounding board for each other. And I was like, hold up. I've just started my first business. I got no idea what anything. I didn't even know what public liability insurance was. And you're telling, I do now, by the way, but you're telling me that I can be in this room and I can go up to someone that's had a company for 15 years and has got a handful of staff and overcome all kinds of challenges that I can't even imagine I'm going to experience. And I can say, can we grab a coffee? I want to ask you about business. And they're going to go, yeah, when you're free. I was like, that, yes, sign me up. Take all of my money. Like the fact that I can just have one-to-ones. And that's what I did. I just kind of set the record for many years of like how many one-to-ones I had. Because I just wanted to sit down with as many people as possible and be like, how do you build a business? What did you do wrong? And what am I doing wrong? And critique me on this and that. And constantly bouncing ideas and throwing plans and visions to people and seeing what they thought of it and ask them to pull it apart. And yeah, so networking's like hugely valuable.
excellent. And what's been the best advice you've got from your network?
Hmm. Best advice I've ever got from my network is so many things. Just like maybe, maybe the best advice was one of the most impactful paradigm shifting moments was when I sat down with that guy I was going to advertise in his magazine. And I did for like 3 months. But when I was talking to him about advertising in it, he said, he told me about BNI. And then he was like, if I'm being honest, I would advise you to go to BNI instead of advertising with me. Like, come along to that meeting. Don't pay to advertise in my magazine because I think you'll be better off going along to this. And that was like not really much advice. It's not really profound, but just in that moment, when I reflect back, like everything I've achieved and every accolade, every trial and tribulation has come either directly or indirectly because I joined BNI and then met everyone I knew and learned a lot about business from there. So I guess possibly the most profound advice I ever received from someone was go along to this networking thing rather than advertising my magazine.
Oh, brilliant. So you work a lot around marketing strategy. And what's been would you say, the best marketing you've done in either of your businesses?
Hmm, it's yet to be done.
Ooh, okay.
But uh one of the things I had in my okay, a couple of things. I mean, I've got a couple specific pieces of content that I'm like, every business owner, every business wants to have these. One is, especially if you're a trades business. So in my garden company, I have a checklist of questions. So when I go and quote someone for their garden, I always ask the question, you get another quotes in. Anytime someone says yes, I've got a video or a like written article with checklist that's the 5 questions to ask any gardener before you trust them. And so, depending on like the type of person it is, I'll either send the video, the checklist, or both. And it seems counterintuitive to give away advice on like how to go find a great gardener because people might think, well, why would I give that away? Because then if they find someone that answers the questions, they might go for them instead of me. But the key thing is because you're the one giving away all the advice, you're going to have the most refined answers and you're going to be the one that's seen as the most helpful. And law of reciprocity. So that worked so well. And Another thing is I have a PDF overview of Pink Panda. So this is something I make for clients as well. So it's just a PDF, which is what I sent to you before this actually. Uh, and it's just something that's like a 6, 8 slide document all about your business, but focused all around the people you help. So it's got nothing to do. Like I feel like a lot of people would be like, oh, let's put an about us on there. Let's put how many years we've been in business. Let's put our awards. It's like, yeah, forget all of that. Just put what you're doing for your client and give them an idea of their journey with you included in it. And so it's like there's where the reality of where they are and where they want to be. Just show them the bridge, and that's what that PDF wants to do. And that like got me a client where I sent it ahead of our one-to-one, and he was just like, oh my God, that PDF was so helpful. Like, I really understand what you do. And that's what you make for clients. I was like, yeah, that's literally part of the process. And he's like, cool, when do we start? And another thing, actually, I'm going to add in terms of call it marketing, call it sales. I think they're very interlinked. Uh, in my garden company, I do something I had was on the database, like the CRM, had every client's name and obviously all of their details. But then the next columns, I had the season, so spring, summer, autumn, winter. So if any gardeners are listening, you've got a garden business, I'm about to give you an idea that's going to make you tens of thousands of pounds. So you're welcome. So what I did was I put every single service we do down to like granular detail. So it could be like bulb planting, leaf clearing, deadwood removal, whatever it is just turfing, like every single thing I could think of, a whole long list of every single service. And then I just put them into what was the best time of year to do it, into the spring, summer, autumn, winter. Big focus on winter tasks because most gardeners are like, oh, it's winter, I can't do anything. Uh, you can if you find the right clients. So what I did with that is I, on my database, just put a Y or an N if it was possible to do it in that client's garden. Uh, so like bulb planting, for example, it's going to be a yes on every single client. So then all it was when it comes to that time of year, would just go onto that service, filter the list of to just see the yeses, and all those people went into a campaign that just educated them on that idea. So, for example, the bulb planting would just be something that goes out to clients that just says, "Oh, now we're entering this time of year. It's a good time to think about bulbs. What it will mean is in the spring you can have all your DAFs coming up, blah 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 blah. If it's something you want to discuss, we can put a plan together for you. We can either help you do it yourself or we can do it for you." And doing that just filled our diary. So I had someone in the office full time and they would pretty much do that. And there'd be gaps in our diary and they could just go through that and we would fill it just from the easiest people to sell to is the people that are already buying from you. So as soon as we suggested some bulbs to people, they're like, yeah, brilliant. What will it cost? Oh, it's 250 quid. We'll go get 100 bulbs and plant random numbers. And they just go, yeah, sure, book it in. And that, especially concentrating on winter to look at like when's your quietest time of year when you get the least inquiries? Well, how can you educate your audience as much as possible on what you can solve for them in that time of year? So like in winter, you've got leaf clearances, you've got dead wood removal, you've got like planting meadows. So I did a lot around like educating people on having a wildflower meadow and would do that. And tree planting, best thing to do in winter. So winter became my most profitable time in the garden, or still is the most profitable time in the garden company because everyone else was kind of thinking, "Oh bugger, it's winter. Let's just panic." And I was just out doing more revenue and more profit in winter than I did any other time of year.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Hayden. So, this is the services that Pink Panda provide is kind of helping clients to then think about, how to market and what strategies would work for them. So, tell me a little bit more about your products and services and how you help clients that you work with.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of the things that I spoke about is all part of what is in the conversation at Welcome Pink Panda and things we do at the moment. So the starting thing I always recommend is we do a marketing strategy consult, which is basically all of those things that I've kind of touched on. Is a whole document going into every single touch point of your business, like how you network. So like years of networking, just pulling out how I made like a couple hundred grand networking. And so I just pulled apart what worked really well for that. So that goes into the marketing strategy doc. How can it apply to their business? Things with social media, what's worked for me over the years and just refining that strategy. So, and website, what your website needs to communicate to speak to your ideal client and such, and your ideal team member. So it's a whole strategy document that just gives an overview of like, essentially it's us going, here's how to go and do it yourself. That's your marketing strategy. And that's a great way to get a taster of what it's like to work with Pink Panda and not break the bank in any way. And then the retainer service I'm building a waiting list for. So we're recording this like the end of 24 and we started making content packages, which was just making all the content for your business based on that marketing strategy. And then I thought, wouldn't it be helpful if we could just do it all for our clients. And also it helps the business model because then it's a retainer, it's monthly recurring revenue. So I'm building up a waiting list of businesses that are interested in that retainer. So on the waiting list, it's just a case of there's no obligation. We're just going to discuss what would this service need to look like for your business? What does it need to achieve to be valuable and helpful? And what does your organization look like in the future? What's the team you're building? What's the clients you're going to work with? What partners can you be working with? So that launches in the new year. So that's why I've taken on investor. That's why I'm looking to recruit and employ people now so that in the new year that can all be launched. So a lot, I guess what's available for people is the marketing consult. We still do the content packages and then joining the waiting list for the service that we're just going to do it all.
Yeah, excellent. And what does 2025 hold? So what do you see for the next year from an economic perspective, but also for your business?
Uh, from an economics perspective, I mean, we're listening to this and literally Trump's just won the election. So there's a
I
whole
know,
conversation
right?
there of what
Uh, we need another hour for that.
uh, I'm most looking forward to the Department of Government Efficiency to see if Elon will be allowed to remove 2 trillion from the US government spending every year. That will have a global impact on the economy to just make life more affordable. But that's a whole nother conversation. 2025 Pink Panda or my so I've got in 2025, I want to get Pink Panda to a point where there's like a team of, if I can get to a team of 12 by the end of the year, I consider that like a huge, huge, huge success. And might not be a team of 12, it might be like a team of 5 or 6. But I normally think very long term, like I got a 100-year goal. So I'm thinking more 5 years. Like in 5 years, I want Pink Panda to be a team of 55. So I've got a whole roadmap for that. So the next year in 2025 is just mapping out the key service for that market in that full marketing service is working that out so that I've got a team that can run it, and then we can just repeat that and have multiple teams within the business. The idea is there'll be 8 teams led by eight. I call them market mavericks, so they're like the managers that will manage the teams. So the idea is just to have one team running profitably and go right. That works. Now let's just replicate it for multiple teams. So it's 2025. Get that team running. That's Pink Panda. The garden company is at the moment like the service. It's just a micro business, but it's electric van, all electric tools. The only thing that's petrol now is the mower. So in the spring, we're just getting a battery mower for it, and so that will mean that the full service is all electric. So that's quite exciting. And in the networking business is that's going national next year. So it's a lot of what I'm doing week by week on that is just the back end processes, just making sure that as we scale, there's a clear system so that when we onboard partners and meeting hosts and members, there's just a clear system so that we can scale it and it's not going to get chaotic when we take more and more people on because we just need to make sure there's clear systems that everybody knows the rule book and everybody knows what's going on and everybody's got clear goals and KPIs and whatnot. So that's those three. And then maybe try and have a holiday. The plan was next 2025. I want to spend next winter out the country. I did 6 weeks in Jamaica a couple of years ago and was like, right, every winter I'm just going to disappear and go be in another country, and then I haven't done it since. So keep working. So 2025 in December, fly off to a country and not come back until like February.
Sounds like an amazing year that's ahead for you and for Pink Panda. Final few questions, very quickly. What's the key to success for you?
I got a statistic I remind myself of every day. Your chances of existence. God knows where it came from. I've heard a bunch of people say it, and I don't know how accurate it is. I don't care. But it's calculated that your chances of existence are 1 in 400 trillion. So for you to exist as the individual you are today, the exact sperm cell, the exact egg that created you, it had to be that exact one, both of them, out of the millions and millions and millions of sperm cells, out of the hundreds of thousands of eggs. But not only that, same thing had to happen for the male, the female that created you. So the entirety of human history had to happen in the exact way that it did in order for you to exist. The smallest fluctuation, the slightest change, you wouldn't exist. So when it comes to the concept of success and what you want to achieve, whatever the goal is that you set, whenever I love it when people challenge me on something and be like, well, that's not achievable. Like, how are you ever going to do that? It's like, well, I exist. I've beaten a 1 in 400 trillion odd. Like it's more likely that I'll go buy a lottery ticket, win, go buy another lottery ticket and win, go buy another lottery ticket and win. That's more likely to happen than for me to exist. And you exist as well. We all exist. So we've all beaten that odd. So whatever you want to achieve as success is not going to be as complicated as existing. So there's my key.
Oh, I love it. Um, what's the one book you would recommend?
Oh, I got to
And
narrow it down to one. Okay.
mm,
Michael Gerber, The E-Myth.
oh,
But I read that like I went through a phase of reading it every year. Like I've got to a point really where I just reread a lot of books. I study books rather than trying to read all of them just because there's too many. But reading that over and over and over again, you would take something new every time. And like in my garden company compared to Pink Panda, take like different things out of it. So all of the last 5 books I've read, 4 of them was rereading a book. But yeah, so number one book, E-Myth, read that.
you speak to my heart. I absolutely love that book. I give it to all my clients. If you could magically improve one area of your business tomorrow, what would it be?
The marketing. If I could
Aren't you in marketing?
if I could improve one component of the business tomorrow, it would uh the recruitment. I just want to have a team of people ready to go. Like if I could have like at the moment I'm putting a lot of and that and the back end system. Like for the retainer service, I'm working on the whole back end system of it to automate as much of it as possible and just systemize it. So I'm gonna cheat and give you 2 answers, and one is the recruitment side, so that I already have a team of people ready to go. I've got a few people, but it's like, no, I want to have like 50 people that are like, when can I start? And back end systems just to be all ironed out and sorted. That's the 2 things I would have.
Excellent. Brilliant. Thank you so much. And what is most inspiring to you today?
What is most inspiring to me today? My screensaver on my phone. So on my phone, I have, do you know what that is?
Looks like Mars, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's Mars.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the whole key to success and the 1 in 400 trillion thing is. So I have Mars as my screensaver because to me, that is got to be the biggest goal of humanity that humans are working on to get to another planet to make humanity multi-planetary so that we've got 2 bases and we haven't got all of our chickens in one egg. Chickens in one egg? All of our eggs in one basket, sorry. Uh, so like there's humans literally working on making us multi-planetary. So that I find hugely inspirational. It's just like I want to build a marketing company to a team of 55, and then I want to go and build this company and then build this company, and then I want to try and work on this for humanity. It's like that's nothing in comparison. That's easy. That's child's play. I'm not doing rocket science. So that's what I find inspirational.
Oh, amazing. And finally, then, anything you'd like to share that we haven't discussed yet? I just want to say thank you so much for being on the Business Spotlight today. So much great things I'm taking from this conversation, and just thankful for you for being here today. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Lida. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.